give me fuel, give me fire, give me that which I desire.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the very first episode of the 2014 season of NLL Lacrosse. I am your host, Rocco Granato. I apologize for the beginning technical difficulties. We are now doing our shows live on YouTube. It will be easier to access, better than the other software that we ran the last few seasons. But as we get this started early in the summer, let me first wish the people up north of the border a happy Canada Day, as they are celebrating their, I guess you could say, it's their Independence Day. We here in the States will be celebrating our Independence Day on July 4th, which is Friday. So I would like to make sure that everybody out there, please don't drink and drive. I say this week in, week out on all my shows that I do. We want to have you around. Please do not drink and drive. You're not only hurting yourself, you're hurting family members, friends, and other family members as well, and people with their families as well. But let's get right down to it. As we approach the draft coming up in September, I believe it's going to be the first week of September, we're going to slowly break down the awards that are coming up for this past season. Usually they give them out during championship week. Now what they did is they broke them down for each each award is going to be done during September coming up with the draft. So we're going to break down each category, the three candidates that are in it, each week leading up to the award. We had one already handed out. There was the Tom Borelli Award. We'll go over that one, who the winner was for that. But we're going to have the 2014 Executive of the Year, the Most Valuable Player, the Rookie of the Year, Transition Player, Defensive Player of the Year, the NLL Head Coach of the Year, along with the Goaltender of the Year award as well. As I said, all these will be announced. I'm looking up here on the NLL.com to find a date. It's going to be announced on. I'm sorry for that. You gotta love these technical problems with the computers. It's going to start. The awards are going to be announced on Sunday, September 21st in Oakville, Ontario. So that will be. It's the first ever NLL season award ceremony. So that's when it will all start. And as I said, each week we're going to take each category and break down the candidates and who we feel should win and the reason why. There's a lot of interesting candidates for these awards, and like I said, we're going to go through each one. But first we had the Tom Borelli Award. That goes to the media person of the year. That was awarded to IL Indoors. Excuse me. That was awarded to IL Indoors Bob Chavez. He won it this year, and this is coming straight from NLL.com. It says Chavez provided comprehensive coverage of the league and sport over the past 12 months while serving as co-editor of IL Indoor in addition to his role as sports and copy editor with the Rochester Democrat and Chronicle. With almost 20 years' experience covering the game, Chavez has demonstrated unparalleled commitment to lacrosse reporting since his start in 1995. So congratulations to Bob. I've talked to Bob on a number of occasions prior to him winning this award. Very deserving of it. I couldn't think of anyone, else that, could, be deserving of this award. When you go to the Rochester Nighthawk games, you will see Bob around the arena, and his knowledge of the game is unbelievable. It's just something to be recognized, and it was this year by the NLL. And like I said, Bob is a great person to talk to. You can't, go wrong. He's always there with a smile on his face and always willing to, to listen and to talk. You want to talk lacrosse, he's a great person to talk to. And this is a quote from Bob. He said, "It's very special to me as I got to know Tom, from Tom Borelli, at NLL games as well as high school games. So he said winning this award is very humbling. For those who knew Tom Borelli, he was one fantastic writer who unfortunately passed away at a very young age. So congratulations to Bob Chavez from IL Indoor, and also copy editor, as I said, of the Rochester Democrat and Chronicle." So that is your 2014 Media Person of the Year, the Tom Borelli Award winner, Bob Chavez. Now we'll start bringing out some of the other categories here. Your NLL Executive of the Year for 2014. We're going to have, you have three candidates. You have John Bean, Chief Operating Officer of the Calgary Sports Entertainment Corporation, Calgary Roughnecks, and Governor, Chairman of the NLL Audit Finance Committee. He's one candidate for Executive of the Year. The other is Bruce Urban, owner and governor of the Edmonton Rush. We all know what Edmonton has done this season. And the final candidate is none other than Kurt Stiers, owner and general manager of the Rochester Nighthawks. Kurt has done nothing but have the Rochester Nighthawks three-peat for the first time. The team has done this in the 28-year history of the MILL and NLL. So there are your three for your Executive of the Year. As I said, we're going to go through each one on each week starting next week. We're going to go through the announcements right now of who's eligible. Now we go to the 2014 Most Valuable Player. And some interesting names here for this. We will have possibility of one person winning two awards, and you'll see why. Your three candidates for Most Valuable Player. From the Rochester Nighthawks, you got Cody Jameson and goaltender Matt Vince.
Introducing
there's your two right there. Then you have from the Toronto Rock, Garrett Billings. There's your three candidates for Most Valuable Player. Garrett Billings from the Toronto Rock, Cody Jameson, Rochester Nighthawks, and Matt Vince from the Rochester Nighthawks. So you have your Executive of the Year candidates, your Most Valuable Player of the Year candidates. Now you go to your Defensive Player of the Year. You have Chris Corbeil from the Edmonton Rush and Kyle Rubish. Two very tough competitors right there for defense. And for Buffalo, you have Steve Perillo. That's an award finalist for Defensive Player of the Year. Kyle Rubish has been winning this award the past couple years. It's going to be very tough to beat him. Steve Perillo, I should say, I'm sorry, had a fantastic year for Buffalo. Putting the ball in the net, playing strong defense. So, you don't know, Chris Corbeil stepped up as well for Edmonton when needed, on the defensive end, putting the ball in the net. So this is going to be a very tough battle to see who wins the Defensive Player of the Year. For your Transition Player of the Year, for the Minnesota Swarm, you got Jordan McIntosh. The Philadelphia Wings, you got Brody Merrill. And from Edmonton, you have Jeremy Thompson. They're your three finalists for Transition Player of the Year. McIntosh won it last year, taking face-offs, stepping in big when Andrew Suter went down with an injury back in 2013, which gave him that award. Brody Merrill from Philadelphia is always a tough transition player. He's right in there in contention. Same thing with Jeremy Thompson, taking the face-offs for Edmonton as well, helping them to for the Western Conference regular season title. For your Rookie of the Year, you got Robert Church from Edmonton, Logan Shush from Minnesota, and Colorado's Dylan Ward, goaltender. In the very beginning of the year, everybody was talking, it's going to be Logan's, award. Just, already put it in, sealed away, and that was it. Robert Church has came on strong during the season, played some fantastic games. Dylan Ward, the goaltender for Colorado, played phenomenal when he was put in the net. He was brought in for the first 6 games of the season, every single game, when Ty Bellinger was struggling, in the first 6 games. And at that point, that's when Dylan Ward just took over the starting job, and he helped Colorado get into the playoffs. Unfortunately, they lost in the first round to Calgary, but they had a very good season as they, fought, with the Vancouver Stealth for that final playoff spot. And I think without him being in goal at that time, I don't think they would have made it. So, as of right now, like I said, we're going to break it all down, but my vote would be leaning towards Colorado's Dylan Ward as the Rookie of the Year for 2014. Now you go to your Goaltender of the Year. This is where I said you could possibility of having one player winning 2 awards. Your Goaltender of the Year, Edmonton Darren Bold. Phenomenal season. 14-2 for the Edmonton Rush. Goals against average well under 10. Just played unbelievable. Anthony Cosmo, Buffalo Bandits, had a complete turnaround from 2013. Back in 2013, Buffalo struggled when they had the crossover for the playoffs. Buffalo missed out. They ended up as the 9th team overall. And his head you could see it just wasn't in the game. This year, turned it right around. Granted, they lost the last 8 games of the season, the regular season, I should say, after starting out 8-2. But they went into Toronto, beat Toronto in the first game of single elimination, first round of the playoffs. Then they took Rochester to the brink of elimination by not only winning the first game of the two-game series, but going when they went to the 10-minute minigame, that went into overtime. And they almost won that on a few occasions. And this was all due to Anthony Cosmo from the way he just plays his game this season. So he's another strong candidate there. And the other one is, of course, Matt Vince. 3 out of the last 4 years, Matt Vince was the winner of the Goaltender of the Year award. This year, it's going to be very, very tough. I believe, they base this just on the regular season. They don't bring the playoffs into it because obviously not all these players were in the playoffs. If that was the case, you look at the transition player. Jordan McIntosh would not be in it. Minnesota did not make the playoffs. Brody Merrill would not be, in it because Philadelphia was not in the playoffs, and it would just be Edmonton's Jeremy Thompson. They've got to, the finals where they lost in the 10-minute minigame to Calgary. So they obviously do not add the playoffs stats into this. This is all based on regular season. So your goaltenders, you got Aaron Bold, Anthony Cosmo, Matt Vince. My choice during the season has been Aaron Bold, and it's going to stay that way. He just played phenomenal over the past season. There's no two ways about it. Not taking anything away from Anthony Cosmo or even Matt Vince. You had Rochester go 14-4 this year. It just played a steady time in net. Yes, he was taken out a couple times more than he was in 2013, but he still played consistent, and that's how he played throughout the whole season. And like I said, you have Aaron Bold. His stats speak for themselves. I think this is a clear-cut one here for the Goaltender of the Year. But what I want to do right now is let's look at who we have going for the U.S. men's national lacrosse team for the World Championships in Denver, which start in just under 9 days. The team was selected on Monday, so we'll get to see who's going to represent and who's going to wear the colors of the United States. We do know that from the Philadelphia Wings, it was Garrett Thull who made it for Team USA. Paul Rabel was also another. Kyle Buchanan, Max Siebel, Brendan Mundorf. Congratulations to all those guys who made the team just from the Philadelphia Wings. It's got to be an honor for those players to wear the colors. It's something that they have been going for. Some of these players skipped out on the NLL season to stay healthy for this. Let me go through the roster. I apologize for not being prepared. It's just been a crazy beginning of the week, we'll say right now. But here is your 2014 World Championship roster for Team USA. For attack, you have Ned Crotty out of Duke University and plays the outdoor game for the New York Lizards. Marcus Holman from North Carolina, Ohio Machine. Kevin Lavelle, Rochester Rattlers, University of Massachusetts. Brendan Mundorf, Chesapeake Bayhawks, University of UMBC. Rob Pennell, New York Lizards, from Cornell University, also a Philadelphia Wings draft selection last year in 2013. And also Garrett Thule plays for the Florida Launch out of Army and also plays for Philadelphia Wings. And he had an outstanding rookie season for the Philadelphia Wings. There's your 6 men on attack. Your middies. You have Matt Abbott from the Chesapeake Bayhawks and Syracuse University. Kevin Buchanan, Boston Cannons, Ohio State Buckeyes. Dan Burns, Chesapeake Bayhawks, Maryland University. Kyle Harrison, Ohio Machine, and John Hopkins. Kyle also played on the 2006 men's national team. Let me just go back real quick because I forgot about the little asterisks that were next to the player names. Ned Crotty, Brendan Mundorf, both played on the 2010 men's national team, so they're returning for a second go-around with Team USA. Kyle Harrison played back with them in 2006. David Lawson, making his first appearance, plays for the Rochester Rattlers out of Duke University. Paul Rabel, Boston Cannons, Johns Hopkins University, also played on the 2010 men's team. And Max Seabold, New York Lizards, plays in the outdoor game. The Philadelphia Wings in the indoor league. He's out of Cornell University and also played on the 2010 U.S. men's national team. On defense, got a very strong defense here. You have Mitch Belisle from the Boston Cannons out of Cornell. Jesse Bernhardt, Chesapeake Bayhawks, University of Maryland. Tucker Durkin, defenseman from Florida Launch, and John Hopkins. Tucker Durkin is also a 2013 draft pick of the Philadelphia Wings that the Philadelphia fans are hoping to see in action in this upcoming season. Michael Evans, Chesapeake Bayhawks, and John Hopkins. Kyle Hartzell, New York Lizards, and Salisbury University. Another Wings defenseman hoping to come back. Lee Zink, Denver Outlaws, University of Maryland. And your 2 goaltenders, Drew Adams from the New York Lizards out of Penn State University, and Jesse Schwartzman, Denver Outlaws, from Johns Hopkins University. Your face-off specialists, Chris Eck, the Boston Cannons from Colgate, and Greg Berlanen, New York Lizards, Penn State University. There is your final 23-man World Championship roster. This all gets underway on July 10th, goes from the 10th to the 19th in Commerce City, Colorado. This is going to be an unbelievable event that's going to happen. Let me also put here that your alternates are John Galloway from the Rochester Rattlers and Steele Stanwick from the Ohio Machine and University of Virginia. So they will be the 2 alternates for Team USA. The alternates it has here that they were selected to travel with the team and will be added to the active roster only in the instance of an injury. That's per the policy, per FIL policy. No change to the active roster may be made after Wednesday, July 9th. So there's your roster along with your 2 alternates for Team USA. So you have your Team USA, you have your finalists, that will be announced in September, towards the end of September, in Oakville, Ontario. When we last did a show, I did a live show with a good friend, Gary Group, from Toronto. Came down and we did it from the stock exchange. It was a day to remember. There's something happened that day that hasn't happened in the 28-year history of the league. The Rochester Nighthawks did the impossible and three-peated in the National Lacrosse League. They were down 1-0 in the series to Calgary, losing that opening game the week before on May 24th to the Calgary Roughnecks. They come home to Rochester to their 12,000 plus fans. There's only about a little bit less than 10,000 there. The arena holds 12,000, give or take. They won the second game handily, and they did exactly what I said they needed to do. Not only did they need to just win that second game, they needed to keep their foot on the neck of the Calgary Roughnecks, not allow them to battle back like they did against Edmonton. They won that first game. I'm sorry, they won the second game. They tied the series up at 1. We go into the 10-minute mini game. All of a sudden, you look up, it's 1-0 Calgary, 5 minutes in. Then they score another goal at the, I believe, close to about the 7-minute mark. And now you're looking at the score of 2-0 in the mini game. It just, you didn't know what to do. The Rochester fans were just kind of, okay, what's going on? They win the first game, the second game at home, 16-10, and they kept the pressure on them the whole time. You would think that would do it. That would take everything out of the Calgary Roughnecks. But at 2:42, I apologize for the times I said it. 2:42, Sean Evans scored the first goal, put them up 1-0. Then at 4:40, Curtis Dixon made it 2-0. You're not 5 minutes into this 10-minute game, and already you're down 2-0. Calgary has stolen the momentum from you. You got to find a way of getting this back. At 5:11 came the primary opportunity. Curtis Manning gets a 2-minute minor for holding, giving Rochester a power play at that point. Calgary kills the penalty off, while also getting a couple chances shorthanded. So now you're down to about 2 minutes and 49 seconds left in this 10-minute mini game. Because when this penalty expired, it was at 5:11. 2 minutes goes by. You're now at 7:11. 2:49 to go in the game. You're down 2-0. History is slipping out of your fingers. I was down in the tunnel during the last 5 minutes from the moment that penalty was called. And I'm standing behind the Calgary net, and I'm watching the attack come from Rochester. They looked as calm as can be. Down 2-0. Then at 7:46, Craig Point puts one in just 35 seconds after the penalty expired, with a beautiful assist from Walters and Sullivan. It just put it right past Mike Poulin. So that broke the lead. It cut it down to 2-1. Then at 8:37, just under a minute, 51 seconds later, Joe Walters puts one in to make the score 2-2 with the assist from Ian Ward. It was another great shot by Joe Walters. Now you have a game, the 10-minute mini game, tied at 2, series tied at 1. the 9,000 plus strong in the arena was just deafening. You couldn't hear yourself think. You couldn't hear yourself speak. That's how loud it got. Then at 9:01, with just under a minute to go, the roof basically came off the War Memorial. Craig Point scored the second goal of that 10-minute mini game, and they take a 3-2 lead. They end up holding on to that lead till the very end. Even the last second shot by Sean Evans had to be stopped by Matt Vince to preserve that 3-2 win, and the Rochester Nighthawks to do something that, as I said, was never done, to three-peat in the NLL. And I can tell you personally, I've been going to these games for 28 years. I've seen the Philadelphia Wings win it twice on a number of occasions, 2 times in a row. Buffalo won it twice, won back-to-back, a couple times. Toronto won it back-to-back 3 times. They even had a shot to win 5 in a row if the Wings didn't win it in 2001. Toronto had 1999, 2000, then 2002, 2003. The Wings beat them in 2001 in Toronto, which was very hard for them to do during the early part of 2000. So you could have had Toronto winning 5 in a row. Now, the big question here is, can Rochester win 4 in a row? Can they do it a 4th time? They are an elite team. Very few turnovers in their roster. We don't know what's going to happen for 2014. Are they going to stay with the same roster? Who will they add? Who will not be there? You know, you look at some of the guys that have been around the league for a long period of time, for 8, 9, 10 plus years. Dan Dawson. He was injured. He missed the first game of the series in Calgary. He came back. He was a big difference. He was the MVP of the playoffs. He won the MVP award. What does he have left in his tank? Is he still going to be the same effective Dan Dawson as he was in the past 2 seasons? Will he lose a little bit of a step as, you know, players get older? Johnny Pallas came into the league at 18. He's now 21. Won 3 titles. I talked to Johnny, and we joked around before we really sat with the interview, and we started, I started joking with him that he could finally drink champagne out of the cup legally instead of being, underage at the time. Yeah, it's just, a little joke, and seeing a smile on his face, what it, has meant to him. Being in school and then doing lacrosse. It's every, it's time. He's a kid. It's every kid's dream. Cody Jamieson, young pup in the league, we'll say. Sid Smith, Matt Vince, Scott Campbell, John Sullivan, Ian Lord, Stephen Keogh. You got young players here. Okay, Craig Point, Scott Self, Paul Dawson, Joe Walters. You got to wonder. We like to know who's a free agent, who's not, who's unrestricted, who's restricted. We're hoping to get some kind of a list soon so we can see who's still under contract to stay. But we all know that contracts are only worth the paper that they're written on. Players can be traded at any point in time. But it looks like Rochester is going to keep a solid team like this together. We just need to see, will it happen? We don't see any, I guess you could say, dissension in it as far as who will not stay, who may want to go somewhere else, who may want to go closer to home. So you kind of look at that and you try to figure it out. You know, who's going to add players, who's not. What teams out there need help, and what can they do? But right now, the Rochester Nighthawks are at the top of the mountain for the third year in a row. And you look out there, who out there can truly knock them off? Calgary came close, but they couldn't hang on it at the end. You wonder with their roster, with some of their players that are aging. They played this championship series without Jeff Snyder. Would the addition of Jeff Snyder in the championships would that have made a difference? It would have made a difference definitely on the face-offs. That's for sure. You would have received extra possessions, but would you have gotten more goals from that? Would that second game even have been 16-10? Would Calgary maybe have swept it? The 10-minute mini game, with Jeff Snyder being in there, it might have been a lot different. In the faceoff draws, it would have, could have been a major difference. In that mini game, Curtis Manning was only 1 for 6 on the faceoffs. He only won one of them, while Dylan Evans went 5 for 6. So that was a big part of it, especially when they went on that 3-goal run in just under 2 minutes. In a minute 15, they notched 3 goals. So you put a Jeff Snyder in there on the faceoff draws, could be a big difference. So it's Calgary close to taking that final step at the top of the mountain. The Edmonton Rush, they were without Curtis Small. He was out for the year after sustaining a torn ACL in the Mann Cup back last summer in the finals. I'm sorry, not in the semifinals, when they were playing for the WLA championship against the Langley Thunder. So he sat out this whole entire season. When he comes back for Edmonton, what is his condition going to be like? What kind of shape is he going to be in? They always say, you tear an ACL, you're out for a good year, because it's a different recovery for lacrosse players than just say you're a regular human being, or say a baseball player or football player. There's different motions that your knee goes through playing lacrosse. Just ask Ethan Iannucci, when he had his ligaments just basically disappeared in his knee. Don't know what happened there, but he wasn't right after he came back, and it's taken him a while to come back, and he's starting to get back to being the old Nucci, as we would say. And also, I would like to put out a congratulations to Ethan. Him and his girlfriend are expecting their first child, and that was put up on Facebook maybe a couple of weeks ago. So, congratulations to Ethan. While he was here in Philly, he made a lot of friends. I know his friends here, his fans here in Philly, are very happy for him. And who knows? It may have another Iannucci in the works in another, say, 18 years. So who knows what genes are going to be passed on to that child. I know that the joke going on is whether or not the child's going to be born with that beard that Ethan is sporting right now, and how long that beard will be sported. But congratulations to Ethan and his lovely girlfriend on that. But as I was saying, with the teams that need to improve here, what teams can knock the hawk off the mountain, we'll say. Calgary is right there, but they have older players. So who's going to stay? Who's going to go? Is their goaltending strong enough with Mike Poole as their main guy between the net? Edmonton, young team. They'll get small back, hopefully for the 2015 season. Who will they pick up in the draft? Which they did make a trade. They swapped goalies with the Minnesota Swarm. Tyler Carlson goes over to Edmonton. Brody McDonald comes over to the Minnesota Swarm, and they switched draft picks. So now Edmonton again will have the first pick in the draft, and Minnesota will pick at number 3. So I mean, that's one big step up there, in that trade. Because it just says, Rush get the first overall pick, and Carlson, and the Swarm get 3rd overall, and Brody McDonald. That was a big trade that happened. That was announced yesterday at around 3 p.m. Now, what that does for Minnesota is you can say it makes their goaltending stronger. Brody McDonald didn't get a lot of playing time behind Aaron Bold, but he got enough. It's not like he was backing up Matt Vince or any of the other top goalies that played 95% or more of the team's time. Brody was with Edmonton for a few years. He did get time with them. He's also played for the Langley Thunder in the WLA, so he is very well seasoned in the indoor game. What this does now is it gives Minnesota a little goaltending battle between McDonald and Higgins. Higgins was a rookie last season. So it should be interesting when Swarm opens up their camp in November or December, depending on when they want to start it. Who's going to be that number 1 guy? Is Brody McDonald the answer in Minnesota now between the pipes, where they're not alternating goalies like they've done the past 3 seasons? First it was Kirk and Carlson alternating up and back for 2 seasons. Now last year it was Carlson and Higgins. So are you going to have McDonald and Higgins going up and back now? Or is it going to be they still go up and back, but they're winning games? There's a difference between alternating your goalies every other game or every 2 games, and you're winning, or you're very close in the games, as opposed to alternating your goalies every game because either Higgins gets blasted and blown out by 7-8 goals and he just can't decide which way he's up at times, and the same thing with Carlson. You don't know which way is up. They're both struggling when they get in there. So there's a big difference on when you could alternate. You could be alternating goalies and be on a winning team, and alternating goalies on a team that gets 4 or 5 wins and struggle the entire season. So it should be pretty interesting on that end. It's also going to be interesting on the Edmonton end. How will Carlson do in Edmonton should Aaron Bold, we all know this, we don't like to say it, but if suffers an injury, if Aaron Bold struggles, how will that be? How will that go? So like I said, it's going to be interesting. When you look at some of the other teams, Toronto Rock, they got Nick Rose and Brandon Miller now as their goaltenders. How is Brandon going to be his first full season in Toronto? How is Garrett Billings going to be coming off his knee injury that ended his season prematurely, just a few games before the playoffs started? How is Toronto Rock going to respond back? How is Buffalo going to respond after losing the final 8 games of the season, regular season, but then coming oh so close to getting to the NLL finals? Is Anthony Cosmo going to have another stand-up year in 2015 as the season gets closer? All of this needs to answer. Johnny Tavares, as of now, he's still playing. There's no announcement of his retiring. Nothing at all. What's left in his tank? What's left in the tank of Mark Steenhouse? And Dane Smith is coming up. He played great second year in the league. Another solid year for Dane Smith. What's he going to do this upcoming season? So a lot of questions there in Buffalo. Philadelphia, a ton of questions, a ton of them. Is there going to be another huge turnover in the organization? Are they going to have 10 new players again? Going from 2013 they had new players added in, 10 new players. 2014, this past year, the American players, all except for Garrett Thule, opted out of playing in the indoor game to stay healthy for the outdoor game. And you're looking at Paul Rabel, Kyle Buchanan, Max Seavold. Jeff Reynolds was injured also, as well as trying out for the team. Rob Pennell and Tucker Durkin were told in the beginning of the season to not come to camp because they knew with the roster being down to 20 players on the active roster, 20 active, 4 practice squad instead of 23 active and 3 practice squad, that there wasn't going to be a spot for them. They knew right off the bat, and they said just concentrate on the World Games, and that's what they did. So it's going to be interesting seeing them coming into camp because going into last year, the experts that are out there said that Rob Pennell has what it takes to be an indoor player. He has the skills, he has the capabilities of doing that. Tucker Durkin on the defensive side, what will he bring to the table? Can he make the team? What will he bring? There's high hopes for him. But as I said, you got these other players that opted out. The Paul Rabels, Kyle Buchanan, Kevin Buchanan, Kyle Hartzell, Max Seavold. You just go down the list. You look at the players that weren't there and that went out for Team USA. And when I talked to the coach during the season, he said they would have to be invited back and have to earn a spot back on the team. So you look at Rabel, Buchanan, Mundorf. Well, you're going to be adding 3 new ones right there if they all make it. And you have Seavold, you have Hartzell, you have all these guys that they have the rights to, and will they or won't they make the team? And when they do make the team, what kind of reception are they going to get from the fans? A lot of Philadelphia fans and people around the world know what Philly fans are like. They say they're tough. They're not, they don't do what they're, supposed to. They don't support the players. And, what's going to happen? Past weekend NHL draft, they booed the commissioner. They booed every single team that was announced during the roll call of the NHL draft. So what kind of reception are these players going to get? They obviously have to win the fans back, some of these players, because they were upset. A lot of fans think that if these players were in the lineup, Wings might have made the playoffs this season. That's something that we don't know. Something that we'll never know. So it should be interesting. And again, go out west, Vancouver needs a lot of turnover there to get their team going again. Colorado's obviously getting a little bit stronger. So it's going to be interesting as we go into the 2015 season. Well, that's going to just about do it for the show this week. We won't know the schedule because this is during the day right now. Well, unfortunately, I'm out of work. So I'll be trying to do the show during the day, take an hour out of my day to do this. But I'll know on sometime this coming weekend when the next show is going to be. So stay tuned to inlacrossewetrust.com for the information there. Go to my Facebook page at Wings Fanatic for an update on when the show would be. Even look on YouTube; it should be up on there. But we're going to try to keep it around the same time. We're going to try to do Tuesdays at noontime every week. That's the primary time for it. A little rough doing the first show after about 2 months of not doing a show. So I apologize. Things kind of being a little crazy right now. But I want to thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. As I said, shows are now going to be on YouTube, from this show to the NLL Weekly Preview Show to my show, The Wings Nest, where I go over everything with the Philadelphia Wings when after their draft starts. As they go into training camp, we're doing a show every week from then until their season's over. Maybe even another live show again when the Wings go to Rochester if I'm able to get there. We have a great time doing it there. So it's going to look like another fun season in 2015 coming up. Curious to see who stays, who goes on the teams, who does Rochester keep, who do they let go, who do the Wings bring in, who gets let go. Is there going to be a strong backup goaltender? That's something that they need to look at. What's Buffalo going to do? There's just so much there that you could just speculate. But right now in lacrosse, the main focus is the field lacrosse championships, which, like I said, start July 10th, 9 days from now. You have your players from Team USA, some players from the Wings and Edmonton and Rochester playing for Team Canada. All those rosters are starting to come out. A lot of these games are going to be on ESPN, ESPN3. So check your listings, check online, check NLL.com. They will obviously have the schedule out once it's out there to let you know who plays when, what time, what station. So tune in, watch the game, support your country, support the game of lacrosse. It's just a fantastic game. I mean, we had something this past season we haven't had in 28 years. A team that three-peated. So congratulations to the Rochester Nighthawks and all their fans. It's something to be believed, and I was glad to be part of it, covering it for In Lacrosse We Trust. Thank you to Marissa and Jemmy for allowing me to cover that event. Just not only covering it, but just being there. And the fans that were there saw history. If you watched it, you watched history. But there was nothing like being there, watching that happen, seeing the confetti shoot out and fly all over it, all over the place. The joy on the players' faces, right on down the line from Scott Self, Dan and Paul Dawson, Cody Jamieson, Corey Vitarelli, Johnny Pallets, Matt Vince. It just goes on and on. Patty O'Toole, the coaches, Paul Gate, who was there, who I had the honor of interviewing. It just was unbelievable. The family members of the players, how excited they were for them, for their husbands, for their sons and their nephews, their cousins, whatever, whoever, their brothers, whatever family members were there for them. You saw Cody Jamieson, his wife came out with their newborn, so he had a picture right on the field right after the game, sitting his baby inside the cup. So I mean, it's just, you see that. I mean, to win it once is something. Two is just, it's difficult to do back to back in this league. But to win 3 in a row, that's just, like I said, teams have done this. I've never done this. They've come close, but they just couldn't get over that hump. Rochester has done it. So now we got to see, do they have it for 4 in a row? Can they do 4? Are they a team that are just going to keep on winning? Who can knock them off? If they don't make any changes, if they tweak just a little bit, not much, are they still would be considered the ones to win it all? And what are teams going to have to do to beat them? It's going to be very, very tough. So who knows what's going to happen? I mean, you don't know who gets injured, who gets traded. Anything can happen. So we'll have to wait and see. Draft is in September. Award winners announced in September. Next week, we break down one of the categories. Probably do the, probably might take one or two. Maybe take the Executive of the Year and Transition Player of the Year. We'll go through those two, and maybe even more, breaking them down and seeing who we feel should win. So until next week, my name's Rocco Granato. I thank you for tuning into the show, and I will see all of you again next week. Again, people up in Canada, north of the border, our friends, have a fantastic Canada Day. Don't drink and drive. We want to see you around for many more lacrosse seasons. For those of us here in the States, Friday is July 4th, our Independence Day. Again, celebrate it wisely. Do not drink and drive. Put a designated driver. If you're over somebody's house and you see that they've had way too much, take their keys, have them stay the night. We don't want to see anything happen to anybody. Whether you're a lacrosse fan or not, we just don't want to see it happen, okay? So please, don't drink and drive, not just on these holidays, but at any time at all. Be safe out there on the roads. Have a fantastic week. Have a fantastic rest of the summer that's going on. And talk to everybody again next week.
You always pumping your tails, running home.